What up, YouTube? This is Steven Talbert. This is TalbyReacts. So today is a very special day because we have the PlayStation VR conference. So pretty much during this weekend is GDC, which is where the game developers kind of meet and talk about different things. And for some reason, PlayStation just likes to talk about VR on GDC. For whatever reason, they announced it a couple of years ago, and this is the place where they're going to announce a lot of big things. So a couple of weeks back, they sent these invitations saying we're going to have a big PlayStation VR event for today at 2 o'clock. And pretty much that's what they did. And so a lot of people speculate, are they going to show games? Are they going to talk about the date? Are they going to give a price? And we got pretty much all that. And so like if we look back, like last year, like a lot of people were like wondering if it's going to happen at just different places. The most specifically, it was mostly known like a lot of people thought it was going to happen at the PlayStation Experience, but it didn't. And so it for good reason. I think honestly, if they had it before, like they would have not known like kind of what happened with Oculus and what happened in Vive. And so by kind of waiting till GDC, it allowed them to kind of see, these all the different VR people, all the different VR competitors that they're really are going to compete with. And so allowed Sony to kind of figure out where we're going to set a price, what we're going to do with it. And so let's kind of get on with the news. And so the news, pretty much what they announced during this press conference was the fact that PlayStation VR is going to cost $400, $399 US dollars. It's going to cost, I believe, 350 pounds, 400 euros. I think I saw like 550 Canadian dollars or something like that. And so pretty good money. And then it was also going to come out around October 2016. And so pretty recently, although not as early as I thought. Like honestly, a lot of people thought June, July window, and that's kind of where I was hedging my bets. But definitely much later, which is awesome because that gives me way more time for me to save that $400. And so we pretty much learned that. And the other type of news that we learned was that they have 50 titles. Hopefully by the end of the year, they're going to release that are VR titles. They already have about 230 developers, which is kind of a similar number that we've already heard about. And then also, probably one of the bigger news was that it has theater mode, which means you can play your PlayStation 4 games with VR, which is kind of cool. So you pretty much can play like this full. It's like a theater. Like you can be kind of by yourself attached in this game. You won't have like a VR experience, but it's a much heightened experience, as I would say. And so to me that's pretty cool. Imagine playing Last of Us or the new Uncharted 4 when that comes out in May. So I think that's going to be pretty awesome to play those type of games, and probably even like Fallout 4 would be pretty awesome in like a theater mode. And so that's pretty cool. And I think the biggest news in terms of like the game front is that Battlefront VR is going to happen for the PlayStation VR. We'll see. Kind of, we didn't really hear any details what it's going to look like. Hopefully, we'll see what that's going to all be about. Hopefully, it's way bigger than what I'm kind of seeing. And that'll be the most interesting thing. So, kind of moving on. Kind of more of the gist of this video. Like honestly, is PlayStation VR worth it at $400? And I think if we compare like the other game systems, I think it is. Like if you look at VR and you really want a VR system, I think PlayStation VR is the way to go. Like looking at like Oculus is about $600, and then Vive is another $200 extra, so that's $800. And then you put in the cost of having a computer. Like honestly, to run Oculus and Vive, you would need probably another $1,000 computer. And so just that alone, you're going to be paying anywhere from $1,400 to about almost $2,000 in terms of play to do Oculus or Vive. And so that really takes it away. Takes those two out of really the big competition in terms of like mainstream VR. And so I think honestly, if you want a really good game experience, you really want PlayStation VR. In terms of PlayStation VR, like it's going to be, a $400 for your game system and $400. It's still going to be very expensive. Like if you're straight, like I don't have a PlayStation 4 and I want to play PlayStation VR, you're still going to pay around $800. Plus also, one of the most interesting things they forgot to mention was that PlayStation VR will need a PlayStation camera, I believe, which is another $60. So there's a lot of extra type of stuff involved. One thing to note about like Vive and Oculus in terms of the cost, I believe Oculus comes out with an Xbox One controller and maybe a game, and I believe also Vive will come with 2 controllers and probably a game. So that is kind of into the cost as well. But it's still like for what you're paying, you still can buy, pay extra $200 for games and still get on the PlayStation VR and get a good deal. So that's kind of one aspect. I think another aspect is to look about is kind of what I was thinking about is the Oculus and Vive may have a lot of more games initially in terms of the system, but it doesn't mean quality games. One thing you have to take into consideration is anything that's getting played through the Vive, through the PlayStation VR, has to go through Sony first, and then it's going to have to be Sony approved, and so that means maybe a better type of quality of game, and we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what in terms of the quality games that what PlayStation can get out. One of the most interesting rumors that I heard was maybe Dreams, which is a first-party Sony game that looks real interesting, kind of create your own world. It was done by the creators of Little Big Planet. Maybe this game will come to the VR, and I think that would be a very cool game to play with. And so we'll see. I think for me, like I'm real excited to play like that, definitely maybe that type of game, or the Valkyrie, which is exciting, the job simulator, just these very different, interesting VR experiences. I'm super excited for VR because I think it's definitely a different type of gameplay. I'll be interested to see. Hopefully it'll move, past that layer of gaming. Hopefully it's not a Wii, and that's one of the biggest interesting problems about VR is like it definitely could be a Wii or a PlayStation Move or a PlayStation Vita. I'm really hoping that this attempt at VR really puts it into the mainstream, because if you think about just the purposes of VR, like in terms of tourists just checking out certain places, checking out hotels, maybe Skyping with friends, like it's really cool. It's really cool to think about what our technology can do, and definitely what the PlayStation VR could do. And so I'm super interested to see what happens with the PlayStation VR. I definitely will be hopefully a day one buyer if I have enough money, God willing. But we'll see. Super excited to see it. I'm glad to hear this news. Guys, what do you think about the news? Are you excited about VR? What games excite you about VR? What do you like about VR? Always glad to hear. Looking forward to hearing your responses. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching. All right, bye.